Good morning. Welcome to the JP8 report, episode 440. All right. How's everybody going? I know I'm about a minute late or so, but I'm trying to catch up on everything I'm doing here. Like I was saying in the JP's morning brief, I had to do a little bit of research, and I found the research I was like looking for. So I'm ready. All right. Welcome to the JPA report. This is James Pierce, if you did not know. But thank y'all very much for tuning in. Wow. That speech. That speech. That was something else. We'll get to that more about in a minute. But, for all the people that don't have cable, I'm sorry you missed it. You might want to call your congressman about doing an FCC investigation on those broadcast networks that did not carry the president's speech. But we'll get to that. All right. So JPA report. Right beside where it says the JPA report, you'll see tip, which are appreciated if you ever want to give me a tip. All right. And then right beside it is a bell. If you click on the bell and scroll down, you'll see the word follow. And click it. That's how you follow the JPA report. All right. And I would like to get more followers. I got one yesterday. I'm sitting at 181. We're doing pretty good. But just let's keep at it. Encourage your friends. You all join too, and then give us a thumbs up for the episode today. That would be nice also. As I tell everybody on Rumble, if you watch any podcast on Rumble, when you turn it on, just give them the thumbs up. Come on, let's squash YouTube. Let's don't even give them a chance, or ScrewTube, okay? Even though I simulcast on there, but nobody's watching from ScrewTube right now anyway. Because I on Rumble Studio, you can see everything. I got nothing on ScrewTube and nothing on Facebook and nothing on X right now. Right? Matter of fact, X doesn't even want to communicate for some reason. Okay. But yeah, and then chat room's open. If you look in the comment section of the podcast today, I did put the link of the URL that the president mentioned during his address. That's where I got some of my research from that we're going to be going over today. But yeah, look at it. So give me a like for the podcast also, right? So with that being said, it's America 250. We got to do the America 250 because our country had our birthday and we're still driving on with it. On the 17th of July, 1776, which is today, 250 years ago, the Congress resolved that that General Washington had acted with dignity in refusing to receive an improperly addressed letter from Lord Howe, and resolved further that no American commander should receive a letter from the enemy that failed to use his official rank in the address. Being polite, professional, right? I know they considered him to be a traitor. I don't care. Still, general. He was a general. And then, let's see. We'll do this one. No, this one on the 17th also is a letter from Horatio Gates to John Adams. Let's see. The bearer in my letter to Mr. Hancock will acquaint you that I am no dictator here, and consequently have it not in my power to serve Mr. Rice. I desire if Chase is returned to Congress, he may know how much I have been deceived and disappointed in being removed from a place where I might have done a public service, and fixed in a institution where it is exceedingly doubtful if it will be in my power to be more than a wretched spectator of a ruined army. The public affairs here have been destroyed by pestilence, peculation, rapine, and every evil those produced. Mr. Chase passed too speedily through this country, and he saw superficially and like a sanguine man drew conclusions from the consequence and not the cause. Tell him if he, and I mean he must expect to be called to a serious account upon the matter. I know it is my sincere as my I know he is my sincere friend, but I know that he has deceived himself and his friend. I am not angry. I'm only vexed with him. I cannot write to you upon public matters. It is too disagreeable to dwell upon. My letter to the president is enough for a man of sense. I am happy to live through the independence is established. That independence is established by the convention, and the United States of America go on and prosper in the glorious work. My respectful compliments to Mr. Jerry. My hands are too full to write instructions for paymasters of regiments. If so many lawyers cannot contrive frame orders that will make the paymaster be a check upon the advice of a commanding officer, what is become of you human with Mr. Jerry's letter to me is a good instruction or as any paymaster need to have. As your war office, be very, because he's the first Secretary of War also. And he goes on. All right, and that's from Horatio Gates, the inadequate. He's the prehistoric General McClellan. Okay, let's put it like that. All right, and then the last thing, which is really cool, was there we go. I'm back live. Thought I lost y'all for a second. On July 18th, which is tomorrow, 1776, the Declaration of Independence was publicly proclaimed in Boston from the balcony of the town house, now the old State House. Colonel Thomas Crafts read the document to a massive cheering crowd. Abigail Adams, who watched the event, famously wrote to her husband, John Adams, "Thus ends royal authority in this state." Awesome quote. All right. So we have the armament shop. Whether you're looking for your first firearm, upgrading your setup, or need expert service, Jason at the armament shop is Copper's Cove's premier source for all things shooting. Browse a wide selection of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, backed by top-tier gunsmithing for repairs, along with reloading supplies and professional cleaning to keep your firearm in peak condition. Need a transfer? We make FFL transfers fast, easy, and affordable. Need your CHL? Jason can handle those classes. He has over 3 decades of experience. Visit the armament shop today at 115A West Avenue D in Copper's Cove, or call or text 254-560-2023, or visit www.armamentshop.com. That's www.armamentshop.com. The Armament Shop, your safety, our priority. All right, hold on just a second. And thank you everybody that's watching, whether live right now or on demand in a little bit, okay? Now we got the Iran update. One thing to read before I go to the rest. Iran targeted a water desalination plant in Kuwait during Thursday's missile strikes, expanding its attacks to civilian infrastructure of U.S. allies in the Gulf, making a major escalation in an ongoing war. Additional Iranian attacks came as other U.S. allies in the region with missile strikes targeting Qatar, Jordan, and the Kurdish population in Iraq. I believe 8 people died in the attack on the Kurds. Okay, Iran's escalation follows the U.S. expansion on targets in Iran's to bridges and electrical infrastructure. As a result of U.S. strikes, Iran's energy minister as citizens consume less power. All right. All right. So, U.S. Marines seize a cargo ship in the Oman Sea. Blockade is effectively enforced. Iran fired missiles into Bahrain. Uh, Major bridges around Bandar Abbas were attacked yesterday. Kuwait fights off missiles and drones, as you just read, that some got through and they tried to get through to the desalination plants. All right, Israel killed the mosque commander responsible for the 7th of October attack. The U.S., this is according to Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary. She said the U.S. can fight day or night unimpeded. Iran wants the Houthis to cut off the Red Sea, and Qatar condemns Iran attacks on Kuwait, Bahrain, and Jordan, called it a flagrant breach of the ceasefire. Okay, I don't think there's a ceasefire anymore, people, at all. All right. Uh, stock market. Stock market closed yesterday at 52,552.97. It was down 105.67. West Texas Intermediate oil, as of about an hour ago, was at $80.84 a barrel, and Brent crude oil is at $85.95 a barrel. All right, that's your Iran update. All right, I'm going to go to my announcements pretty quick before we get on to the rest of the news here. We got Smoking Hot Conservatives. That is on the 20th of July in Killeen at the Leaf Affair at 6 p.m. with Chip Howe. All right. Next Thursday is Pints and Politics in Gatesville at 84 and 36 in Gatesville at Rancher Steakhouse. MC is going to be Gracie the Giraffe. If you know, you know. Okay. But yeah, so that'll be next Thursday. And then we have the next Saturday on the 25th of July is Coryell County Republican Women at 11 a.m. at Trinity Worship Center. That's 1802 Martin Luther King. Dr. Mark Fulmer is going to be the speaker, and it'll be about Islamicism, geopolitical implications, and the greater context of the red-green axis. All right, so that's there. All right, and then we have on the 27th of July, which is a Monday, at Papa's Cafe in Harker Heights, we have the West Side Conservative Coalition. That's led by Dennis Faulkner. I go to that. We'd like to have you there. It's really cool. Papa's Cafe closes at 2 in the afternoon. They graciously opens it back up at 6 p.m. so you can get some dinner and participate in their coalition meeting. All right. And hold on just a second. Okay. My air conditioner broke, so we're trying to keep it cool in the house, and I got an American Home Shield, and they just sent me a text. All right. And then we have Coryell County Republican Women, Republican Party on Tuesday, 28th of July at Junction of Route 36 in Gatesville at 6 p.m. Our primary focus of the CEC is to go over our upcoming fish fry for our party. All right. And other subjects, but that's the main thing. All right. So that is the announcements. So let's get going. We got a finite amount of time because I gotta leave about 8:50, 8:52 because it's Friday, and we do a morning breakfast with a group of people at 9. I'm always late, but they know I'm doing this. Okay. All right. So last night, the president gave a speech, right? Some people saw it. If you don't have, like I was saying, if you don't have cable TV or direct TV or Dish Network, you didn't get to see it at all. No, none whatsoever, right? Because ABC, NBC, and CBS chose not to carry it, right? CNN chose not to carry it, right? Fox News, News Nation, and Newsmax all carried it, right? And Fox Network, okay? So I guess if you watch Fox Network, uh, you got to see it. But that brings up a couple things. I was kind of harsh on them the other day. I mean, last hour when I was talking about this. But I went back and looked at the dark speech from Joe Biden from September 2022 because that was horrible. I mean, that looked like the General Hawksby or something like that from the Fifth Republic um, in Star Wars. If you didn't know, right? That was a dark speech he gave, but it's like so I looked at it and said, did they report that speech? Would you believe it? They didn't carry the president's speech either, President Biden's speech. So you have public broadcasting stations that carry a FCC license for free info because some people can't afford cable TV, even though we think everybody carries it, right? But those stations refused to carry the President Biden's speech in September 22, just like they refused to carry the president's speech last night. Okay, and the only caveat to that is back in September 2022, Fox News didn't carry it either. All right, they did last night, but they didn't carry it back then. They reported on it extensively, and I found that through Grok because I wanted a fair and honest assessment on who it was and stuff. Right. Um, but yeah, so we have people that get we have broadcasting networks that don't carry the president's speech, but they have permission to publicly broadcast stuff to the American people. I think that really needs to be looked into. Um, if it's a nationwide address, I mean, if it's like at a political rally or something, no, I can understand that. But if it's in the White House, yeah, because there was more than just stuff with election integrity in there. There was stuff about the Trump accounts. There was stuff about the tax reform that was done, and there was some stuff about Iran also. Right? It was only 27 minutes. We're in the middle of summertime also. Who's watching TV at that time anyway? Right? Because everything is reruns. That's why. So, but last night, CNN, ABC, NBC, and CBS did not carry the president's speech. Okay, all right. So this is where it gets fun. That surprised me. I thought Fox carries everything. All right. All right. So the speech, 27 minutes long. Another one of his not very long speeches, right? President Trump addressed the nation Thursday evening on free and fair elections. And like I said earlier, I put the link to this, all this information the president told people about last night in the comment section, not in the live chat, but in the actual comment. What if it's a matter of national security? That's coming from Scott Gray. Scott is absolutely correct. You have these people that are making editorial decisions on not to carry the president's speech not knowing what's in the actual speech itself. It is their duty to carry this stuff. You know, they if they wanted to make editorial decisions, they should have been a cable channel where they can make yes or no decisions. But like I was saying, there are some people who don't have cable TV, and their only source of news is through the broadcast networks. And most of the time, you have news at 6:30 at night or 5:30 at night and at 10 o'clock at night, and that's all the news you get on these broadcast networks, right? Because their morning shows aren't really news; they're just morning shows, and most people are on their way to work at that time anyway. So you know what? You had a presidential speech that was given in prime time when there was nothing but reruns on, and they didn't want to do it. I think that's really wrong. And like I said earlier, it really should be investigated on itself. Uh, but also, so uh, Trump's address to the nation was about free and fair elections, announcing the declassification of critical intelligence that reveals, as he said, shocking vulnerabilities related to hacking, exploitation, and interference. This vital information is for many years been covered up and hidden from you. The American people are beautiful, are great American people, but that all changes right now, unquote. Documents were posted to the White House website during the president's speech. Like I said, if you look in the comment section, it's whitehouse.gov/elections integrity. The link is there. All you do is copy it and paste it. You're going to come up to 4 zip files. There are lots. I say again, there's lots of information in those files. And I tell you, you better have a strong dexterity, because when you start reading those, you're like I said, who's going to jail first? Yeah, seriously. And there's more to come to in just a second. This is crazy stuff that we're even going through. Uh, the speech came as the administration was aggressively pushed policies, legislation, and executive orders to secure U.S. elections. The documents, quote, the documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intel agency chiefs, all who have personally reviewed the findings we have presented this evening and fully confirmed our authenticity. Leading up to the address, Trump teased that his speech would be big news. Trump touted this with Trump accounts, yes, and that's very good. The Trump RX also. And then reduce crime, strengthen the border, and the main focus on securing American elections. Trump said the disclosures underscore its push for stricter election security measures and renewed calls for Congress to pass the Save America Act. While critics have disputed many of Trump's claims about the 2020 election and widespread voter fraud, he produced receipts last night, people. Seriously. The White House released 4 sections of documents focused on alleged vulnerabilities in electronic voting and ballot counting systems, China's acquisition and exploitation of American voter data. 220 million U.S. voters lost their data for voter registration to the Chinese. All right. Election law experts and senior legal fellow at the Advancing American Freedom, Hans von Spakovsky, told Fox News that Trump's allegations were shocking, especially given that they are from reports produced by the CIA, the FBI, and other intelligence agencies. The president should be commended for declassifying and releasing the reports that support his claims that so they can be reviewed in depth. Trump said China obtained information about Americans' voters, such as names, addresses, phone numbers, political affiliations, and other personal information to form a dedicated unit to exploit the voter data it had acquired. Reports from the CIA and NSA about China's interference was kept out of Trump's almost daily presidential briefings, Trump claimed. Also, he said the Congress was not notified. I'll read that paragraph again. Reports from the CIA and NSA about China's interference were kept out of Trump's almost daily presidential briefings, Trump claimed. Trump also said Congress was not notified. Trump called the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to launch an investigation and, if appropriate, fire and press criminal charges against those involved. Quote, to the extent that these intrusions into our election system were covered up, as the president alleges, and hidden from the public, Congress, state election officials, and leadership to the executive branch, President Trump is right that everyone involved of the cover should be investigated and prosecuted for any criminal violations of the law. Trump also drew renewed attention to Venezuela and said newly released documents show the intelligence that former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro regime developed methods to digitally manipulate election results. So that being said about Maduro, his people, and there's documentation inside all those documents, right, that showed they manipulated the electronic voting machines to amp up the voting for Maduro during his falsified elections so he could get reelected, which we knew he lost, right? So about this shadow government thing that we were hearing about, all right? What do we got? It's 8:28. Wait. Are you ready for this? Because I'm hoping you're sitting down. All right? And I need this sheet of paper. Hold on just a second. Contained in the reams of documents declassified by President Donald Trump this month and obtained by Just the News is compelling evidence that the oft-decried deep state is not only real, but is in fact activated to obscure the scope of Chinese hacks of voter data and to hide them from then President Donald Trump. President Trump, in a speech on Thursday, decried the effort by some intelligence officials to hide efforts by China to gather data ahead of the 2020 election and, according to the assessment of some officials, interfere in the election. Quote, I am basically running a shadow government across the FBI at this point, said Nikki Flores, then Deputy Assistant Director of the FBI's Counterintelligence Division, in a text message declassified by Trump and reviewed by Just the News. That is in that scope of all those files that was published last night. Flores is one of the key FBI officials who, on September 25th, 2020, weeks before, as a month and a half before the election, was at the forefront of the Bureau's effort to recall and suppress intelligence information report containing information from an FBI confidential source alleging that the Chinese government was producing fake driver's licenses for fraudulent mail-in votes in support of then Democrat nominee Joe Biden. The FBI turned over evidence of the alleged plot to Congress in June of last year. That's 2025, right? 5 years later, to Senator Chuck Grassley. He is the Republican chair of the Judiciary Committee. Subsequently, released some of the emails which revealed Flores' role in suppressing the intelligence report. The Bureau appeared based on emails afraid it would undercut then FBI Director Christopher Wray's assurances to Congress that foreign meddling did not pose a threat in the presidential race. Okay. Let me, because I'm going to run out of time here. Oh, no, here we go. The intervention to recall the intelligence report did not appear to be an isolated incident. In the sensitive weeks after the November 2020 election, a senior analyst in the intelligence community admitted that the presidential daily brief was being tailored to avoid mentioning the election and related issues. The president knew that the election was tampered with, but they weren't telling him it was. Really. We have deliberately massaged our one pending DVD to avoid any direct links to the election. A strategic intelligence analyst specializing in China whose name has been redacted. My first thing, I would like to see Congressman John Carter, my congressman, present a bill to get it passed to get that name unredacted. Yes, because the guy's a criminal. This boggled the minds of officials at the National Intelligence Council. Email communications among the declassified records show. Small update from NSA below. Their DVD isn't that'd be presidential daily brief isn't going to tie to the election? Question mark. The mind boggles, wrote the director of election threat analysis at the National Intelligence Council. This is a really good example, but far from the only one that I've been raising since the summer, that the IC intelligence community is deliberately avoiding mentioning a connection to elections to non-substantive reasons, the National Intelligence Officer for Cyber wrote. These communications were contained in a batch of more than 800 pages of documents Trump declassified and released to the public Thursday night in a primetime White House speech that only some people got to see. I digress, right? In a primetime speech from the White House, Trump laid out evidence that the IC had detected China's massive sweep of voter registration data beginning in 2020. By 2023, memo showed Beijing had obtained more than 220 million voter records in the United States. We're at 8:35. Before I go further into here, all right, presidential daily brief. When you don't have the intel people give information to the president, you put our nation at risk. Right? Full stop, case closed. It's his job to protect you, me, our families, our country, and our military forces, and our Constitution. Whether, if you're a Democrat, you don't care about it anyway. But to willfully not brief the president on threats to our country, whether it be kinetic or non-kinetic, is a serious flaw, and I would say it's treasonous. So I've got 4 names here. These people need to be investigated, arrested, and charged with treason. The NSA director, Paul Nakasone. The assistant to the director of national intelligence, Andrew Hallman, because these people are instrumental in drawing up the presidential daily briefs and briefing the president. The CIA director, Gina Haspel, and the deputy director of operations for the CIA, Elizabeth Kimber. Those people need to be behind bars. And I would also include with that Nikki Flores and Christopher Wray. That's 6 people. That's a good start. These people need to have their security clearances revoked. They need to be arrested, charged, and convicted of treason. That's exactly what this means. I did not put my life on the line for 25 years of my life to be duped, to be stabbed in the back. This is crazy. If they were doing it then, what were they doing before President Trump was president? During Barack Obama's administration, during George W. Bush's administration, during Bill Clinton's administration, and far back as far as you, how much power does the dark side of our government, the shadow government, possess that they don't think the president needs to know? Some of y'all don't know. I know Scott knows because I've been friends with Scott for going on 25 years now. I worked for the White House. I was stationed at Camp David, Maryland. My life was at risk because what I did for the president, and for them not to knowingly brief him on threats, both kinetic and non-kinetic, are you out of your good-for-nothing mind? Do you think, I know hopefully Condoleezza Rice would never do something like this. I could bet my bottom dollar that she would never do so. What is with the rest of these people? This is crazy. This is crazy. There's more stuff to go with it. They sampled 4 states. What have we got? I got about 10 minutes left. They sampled 4 states of their voter rolls, right? And found 238,000 illegal aliens registered to vote. And that was just from 4 states. There were lots of states that are Democrat states, like California and stuff like that. They would not give their data to the federal government. That needs to end. That needs to end. So, quickly, I'm going to go back over this next week too. This is crazy. I'm not giving up on this. I don't care if I'm down to 1 person listening to this podcast. I am going to keep it up. People need to go to jail. Who shall be the first to go to jail, right? Or who shall go to jail first? Here's one. This was declassified just on July 10th, 7 days ago. Summary, and there's black ink on it too, okay? Ahead of the 2020 presidential elections, China has extensive plans to utilize potential blank and cyber operations to sway public opinion against the Trump administration and international opinion against the U.S. government. The China plans were designated to exploit U.S. societal fissures and vulnerabilities to influence U.S. and other audiences and by extensive U.S. government decision planning. The plans address several scenarios, including military conflict between the U.S. and China, as well as other potential crises. The blank operations themes covered a range of topics to exploit what China perceived to be U.S. fissures and vulnerabilities, perceived or real, including racial tensions, alleging that white people hate black people, inciting demonstrations and marches as evidence as racial divides, increasing the level of conflict between the police and anti-racism activists, and feeding any sense that U.S. law enforcement resents the U.S. government and the people of color. And then U.S. government tensions within the U.S. military, political party disagreements, Congress, Trump administration conflicts, women's rights. See, go figure. This stuff should have been briefed to the president. This is just recently declassified. Next one. Ahead of the 2020 presidential elections, China had extensive plans to utilize potential blank and cyber operations to sway public opinion against the Trump administration and international opinion against the U.S. government. The China plans were designed to exploit U.S. societal fissures and vulnerabilities and influence U.S. and other audiences, and by extension, U.S. government decision-making. The plans address several scenarios, including military conflict between the U.S. and China, as well as other potential crises. The blank operation themes cover a broad range of topics to exploit what China perceived to be U.S. fissures and vulnerabilities, perceived the real, including economic recession, encouraging violent demonstrations and looting to increase the appearance of social unrest, intensifying Americans' disapproval of the President of the United States, calling into his ability to govern, and overall undermining the legitimacy and public support of the President of the United States, and ineffective U.S. government COVID-19 response, increasing public dissatisfaction with the President of the United States by questioning his fitness to govern and undermining the public support of his actions. You know what? This is ongoing. This happened over and over and over again. That was just recently declassified. Here's another one. Ahead of the 2020 presidential election, China and its extensive plans to utilize potential blank and cyber operations to sway public opinion away from the Trump administration international opinions against the U.S. government. The China plans were designed to exploit U.S. societal fissures, vulnerabilities, to influence the U.S. and other audiences, and by extension, U.S. government decision-making. Right? They cut and pasted. The plans address several scenarios, including military conflict between the U.S. and China, as well as other potential crises. The blank operation themes covered a broad range of topics to exploit what China perceived to be U.S. fissures and vulnerabilities, perceived the real, including gun proliferation and immigration policies, citing migrant community dissatisfaction with the U.S. government, instigating demonstrations against the U.S. government alleged human rights violations against immigrants, inflaming resentment between anti-immigrant and pro-immigrant communities, and instigating anti-immigration demonstrations. China has developed capabilities to project themes on these topics into social media, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and others, as well as mainstream media through a variety of overt and hidden influencers and media control. This stuff, it actually happened. Seriously, all this happened. Man, who are we fooling ourselves? We have people inside our government that hated the president so much they refused to let him know what was actually going on. The president said they found a burn bag in a hidden room at the FBI that was from the Obama administration, with the intent goal was is to go after the Trump administration. It did not get burned. And we found out this is crazy that we tolerate stuff like this to happen in our country. There needs to be accountability for everybody that was involved. I don't care if they're Republican or Democrat. I don't care. They put your lives at risk, my life at risk, my family's life at risk, and my country I served 3 times in combat with, for their little power trips because they have Trump derangement syndrome. There was an investigation that the president talked about that involved the FBI found a vagrant, not a vagrant, but a flagrant voter registration fraud operation in Michigan that they were told to stand down on through the Department of Justice, which is Merrick Garland, right? If that is true, and that's being investigated, his butt needs to go to jail. Get the size he needs for that orange jumpsuit, put him in it, and haul him off to prison. I'm tired of this nonsense. I'm not even going to get to read this because I got to leave in a few minutes. The bottom line, the president says the Save America Act needs to pass. We need it. That'll eliminate these mail-in ballots that were being manipulated all over the country, and they still are today. This ballot harvesting junk that's going on, that's still continuing on today. The way to get around is you show your ID when you go vote, right? You need to show your citizenship when you go register. And that you don't get a mail-in ballot unless you're sick, in the military, serving overseas, on business. I think I covered all of it. Those are the parts of the Save America Act that we need passed, no matter what. $200, this is in the packet too. 200, and they got a black mark on it also. 250,000 non-citizens were illegally registered to vote in just 4 states for which public data files had been reviewed. Some of them were in Texas. Check this out. In my home state of Texas, 111,000 people were still registered to vote, and they were dead. There were 2,296 non-citizens registered to vote. What gives? And that's in Texas. Texas. How? Are we fooling ourselves? It's our republic if we choose to protect it ourselves. That's something what Benjamin Franklin said in a quote. It's our republic if we choose to protect it. I think that's what the quote was. had 111,000 people register to vote. I'm sure some of them were Republican. This goes back to the days of Lyndon Baines Johnson. I ain't done with this junk, people. I'm going to continue. I don't care if one person's watching this or 10,000 people are watching this. There needs to be accountability for this. Totally. All right. It's 8:51. I've got to sign off. Wow. USA just sent me a text. Oh, okay. It's telling me how much money I have in the bank, which isn't a whole lot. All right. Hey, I got to go. I will see y'all Monday. Yeah, it should be Monday. I'll see y'all. And I hope y'all have a good weekend. And thank you for watching my podcast. Don't forget to like it and subscribe to it, okay? Follow it, okay? I want to be able to keep providing this to y'all. And I don't care what it costs me to do it. Y'all deserve to know, all right? This is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I'm going to go ahead and initiate a raid over to the Bongino show, and I will see y'all on Monday morning at 6:30 Central with the JP's morning brief. There's the raid over. Y'all take it easy. I'm out.